We are Team Jade, and we will be presenting toward a new theory of the contribution of the IT function in organizations. Our team includes Ginger Holly, Greg Henry, Todd Turner, Whitney Henry, and Shiny John. The article we selected for presentation was published in MIS Quarterly, June 2012. The article is authored by two Canadian professors, Guy Perret and Manon Gilmay. The article provides IT executives with a diagnostic tool for better understanding of the contribution of IT function in organizations. Because changes in organizations and IT environments are enduring, the alignment of the IT function with business objectives must not only be understood but constantly renewed, and this is amply reflected in recent surveys of CIOs. Many CIOs face a double challenge when addressing the issue of alignment. They must first clarify top management's expectations and assumptions about IT, and then understand their implications for how the IT department should be managed. That is, translate the function's strategic mission into an IT management model that adds value to the organization. Prior research has provided CIOs with a few well-known frameworks for developing a better understanding of these expectations and assumptions, and hence for addressing the issue of business IT alignment from a strategic perspective. One of the theory is the Strategic Grid Framework by Applegate, McFarland, and McKinney. Based on this theory, there are four types of IT environments: strategic, turnaround, factory, and support. A more recent framework has been proposed by Cass-Brown and Rowe and Cass-Brown. According to these authors, there are 5 categories of assumptions that are important to CIO status and IT management, namely, who should control IT direction? How central is IT to business strategy? What is the value of IT skills and knowledge? What justifies IT investment? And who benefits and who loses when IT is used? Another theory proposed by various researchers focus on different taxonomies that characterize IT management models according to one or several key attributes, including the nature of the relationship between the IT function and business units or external partners, the types of structural arrangements, forms of governance in IT functions, the range of activities performed by IT staff, and the IT managers and professionals profile. Although prior research has much to teach us, knowledge in this area is, however, fragmented and has not been properly integrated. In light of this limitation, the primary intent of this study is to propose and test a new theory of the contribution of the IT function that will help CIOs rise to the challenges of meeting top managers' expectations about IT and adopting the IT management profile that brings the most value to their organization. Following a systematic review of the literature to establish a base theory, a field study in 24 large Canadian companies was undertaken to confirm and extend the initial set of research propositions. We continue this paper by discussing the key theoretical foundations for a new typological theory of the contribution of IT function by Todd Turner.
Thank you, Shiny. My name is Todd Turner, and I'll be reviewing the theoretical background section of this article. In order to ground the fieldwork, the typological theory was used in this study. Typological theories facilitate the study of complex phenomena which are difficult or impossible to capture through linear theories alone. The measurements analyzed were classification scheme, taxonomy, typology. Classification schemes and taxonomies are used to classify and categorize items into mutually exclusive sets with discrete decision rules. Alternatively, typologies identify multiple ideal profiles, which each represent a unique combination of attributes that may determine outcomes. Examples could include age, size, and environment. Next, a comprehensive search of previously completed IT function and management research was conducted. The research needed to be done in English language within peer-reviewed journals and had to present possible arrangements of IT management. Results included 156 peer-reviewed articles in 2010. Of these, 102 were deemed irrelevant based on title or abstract, and the remaining 54 were further reviewed and narrowed by whether they offered any configuration profiles, whether they described specific IT management practices, if they investigated environmental or organizational factors affecting performance, and lastly, whether they provided advice on how management of IT functions. 40 more articles were excluded based on these criteria, resulting in 14 articles for further consideration. Within the remaining 14 articles, 4 recurring dimensions were identified to describe IT functions. They included the range of activities performed, the relationship between IT and business units, the relevant skills and knowledge possessed by IT professionals, and the forms of IT governance models prescribed. Articles were then grouped based on degree of similarity, and the 5 theoretical ideal profiles were identified as partner, system profile, architecture builder, technological leader, or project coordinator. In the partner profile, the primary function of IT is to actively participate in business innovation and work closely with managers to assess opportunities and necessary technology. Both managers and IT functions accept full responsibility of project results in this profile. In the system provider profile, IT is to respond to business unit requests, address user needs, consult with business managers so that they can make proposals and design or deploy IT initiatives. In this profile, business managers are accountable for project results. In an architecture builder profile, the IT function supports business processes, have a strong knowledge of best industry practices, and determine best solutions utilizing existing technology. In this profile, the IT function is accountable for IT efficiency, reliability, and integrity. In the technology leader profile, the IT function takes a leadership role in creating strategic and competitive advantages through IT, has major influence in the organization, and usually has strong CEO-CIO relationships. In this profile, IT is usually accountable for development and implementation. Lastly, in the project coordinator profile, the IT function develops, coordinates, and manages relationships with strategic partners, conducts requests for proposals, and provides support to business units once managers have made decisions on IT investment. For more in-depth analysis on these ideal profiles, please refer to the chart on this slide. There are a variety of ideal IT management profiles that are equal in nature, so the main objective of an IT function is to improve and enhance the role of IT in improving the overall business performance of a firm. Certain profiles may, however, work better with organizations with particular structures, goals, or company cultures. Lastly, the article attempts to better understand why a particular ideal IT management profile is chosen by specific organizations. Through 10 years of investigations of 3 large Canadian firms, it was determined that the management profiles are transformed in response to changes in senior management's perception of IT's importance to the organization, the CIO's level of influence or status, and top executive knowledge and understanding of IT. I will now hand the presentation over to Whitney.
Thanks, Todd. My name is Whitney Hembry, and I will be discussing methodology. The method of data collection used in this study was selected for several reasons. The research team determined that qualitative research, specifically interviews, would be the best form of research to attain the desired result. The research team hoped to accomplish 3 main goals using this methodology. determine the validity of their research results, define the contribution of ideal profiles to the overall day-to-day functioning of organizations, and to explore the factors that comprise each ideal profile. The researchers interviewed 24 Canadian CIOs and focused their questioning on the IT function in their organization. In addition, they looked at the role of the CIO in relation to management decisions. As previously mentioned, a qualitative data collection approach was used for this study. Each CIO was interviewed using a series of questions ranging from broad at the beginning to more specific as the interview progressed. The interviews were divided into three main parts. First, each CIO was asked to describe the IT function in his organization. Next, each of the 5 ideal profiles was presented blindly to the respondent, and each CIO was asked to identify the profile that best fit their organization. The last segment of the interview asked respondents to explain how significant a role the IT function played in their organization and why their particular IT function had been adopted. The data collected from each interview was transcribed, totaling 524 pages of verbatim information. On average, each interview lasted approximately 90 minutes. In addition to CIO interviews, the researchers obtained information including IT department mission statements, company annual reports, and other pertinent data from each organization. Once data was obtained, it was then analyzed using a specific coding scheme to sort and classify it into categories for analysis. During the interview process, 33 empirical profiles were discovered from the CIOs. These profiles were ones that were currently being used in the field. These 33 profiles were compared with the 5 ideal profiles created by the researchers. The empirical profiles were matched with one of the 5 ideal profiles based on the description of each. Each interview was analyzed individually, extracting any information relating to the IT function, creating value for the organization. Then, tables were created to better qualify the nature of the contribution and isolate the specific areas of value-added contribution. I will now turn the presentation over to Greg.
Thanks, Whitney. I'm Greg Hembry, and I will review the results of the study. The results are broken down into 5 separate propositions or findings. Proposition number 1. The researchers concluded that these 5 profiles can be used to describe IT functions in all organizations. Todd reviewed the characteristics of these 5 profiles earlier. The CIOs interviewed for the study confirmed these profiles, and they could all use one or a combination of these profiles to describe their own IT function. Proposition 2A. While these 5 profiles all bring distinct value to the organizations, the researchers concluded that IT departments must first meet minimum contribution thresholds before these added values can be achieved. These minimal requirements are: customers of the IT function must be satisfied by baseline performance, such as adequate response time of applications and a reliable technology infrastructure. In addition, IT projects must be delivered on time and within budget. Proposition 2B. The researchers concluded that the more closely the IT function conforms to one of these 5 ideal profiles, the more effective it will be in making the contributions associated with that profile. The Greek philosophers often espouse the value summed up in the phrase, "Know thyself." The researchers conclude that no matter what type of IT shop it is, the IT function can bring value to its organization by understanding its role and executing the functions it is called to perform. The next slide summarizes the unique sources of value for each distinct profile. While the researchers go into more depth in delineating the unique value associated with each profile, this chart provides a high-level overview of each. The value can range from improving organizational value for a partner IT profile to supporting organizational flexibility by a project coordinator profile. Proposition number 3A. The type of IT management profile adopted by a CIO is driven by three key perceptions: the CIO's interpretation of how central IT is seen by top executives in the company, the CIO's own view of his or her own strategic influence, and the CIO's perception of IT knowledge held by the management team of the company. Proposition 3B. The last finding that came out of the research is summarized on this slide. The authors concluded that the various alignments of the three contingency factors discussed on the previous slide result in one of the 5 IT profiles. For example, if IT is essential to the success of an organization, the CIO has a strategic influence within the organization, and the management team has a high IT literacy. The resulting IT management profile will be a technological leader. I will now turn the presentation over to Ginger Holly.
Thanks, Greg. This is Ginger Holly, and I'm going to speak with you a little bit about the authors and their conclusions and discussion related to future research. In summary, the authors confirmed that the main intent of the study is to validate a new theory about contributions of IT in organizations and the 5 expected profiles that were seen throughout their sampling of the organization. However, they also found hybrid profiles that existed in 4 of the organizations that were sampled. These were versions of the systems provider and partner, and then the architecture, builder, and partner. The hybrid profiles occurred when upper management had new expectations of IT, and either those expectations were not fully met, or what the information officer and upper management wanted were not aligned. These hybrid profiles were determined to be problematic because they often cause management to question IT and make it hard to obtain resources. Ultimately, these hybrid profiles can challenge the added value that IT is delivering to the organization. As noted in the second proposition, each of the 5 profiles are shown to make contributions to the organization. However, the very basic functions of general competency must be provided by IT before individual ideal profile contributions can occur. After these basic competencies are reached, then additional value can occur with the IT function. With profile conformity, IT is better able to achieve these specific contributions. The data gathered confirms the conclusion. 3 of the 4 hybrid profile situations were unable to contribute much more than a minimal level, and 6 of the other samplings, due to managerial problems, were unable to act according to their profile, did not make a significant contribution, and therefore there was no value added. They were merely in a survival mode. Final premise showed why one ideal profile is chosen over another in an organization. The 3 factors observed to explain adoption of specific IT management profiles were the information officer's interpretation of how the management perceives IT, how much influence the information officer has in the company, and how technology literate top managers are. In looking at the limitations of the research and suggestions for future research, the authors suggest further validation of the theory as a whole is still required and should be tested against new sample organizations for confirmation with some quantitative measure for each of the ideal profiles. Future research should consider the perspective of senior management team members rather than just the point of view of the CIO. And finally, future research should also look at why one profile is more desirable or suitable than another in a given context in order to use the information to advise CIOs on which profile to adopt for their organization and investigate the appropriateness of choices made within the organization. Now I'll ask Shiny to conclude our presentation.
Thank you, Ginger. This table summarizes the three main propositions and their subs, the theoretical implications and the practical implications, the details of which were given by both Greg and Ginger. With that, let me conclude. Designing effective IT functions has attracted the attention of several researchers for almost 4 decades. The new theory suggests a typology of ideal IT management profiles, proposes a contingency explanation of the contribution made by IT functions in organizations, and explores the circumstances under which particular ideal profiles are adopted in organizations. Thank you all, and the topic is open for discussion.
Hey, Shiny, this is Todd. Some of my thoughts on this is I believe the study it's relevant now, but that it's going to change some in the future. As reliance on technology kind of becomes more prevalent, and as IT functions gain more importance within the organizations, I think they're going to become better understood. And just that fact, they're going to be understood to be extremely important to the success of an organization. In reference to the audience, I think the audience would be business managers who would be trying to identify with certain profiles and better understand how their organization is run and how best to operate within the organization based on that profile. Ginger, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I found the article to be fairly easy to read and actually understand, especially compared to some of the other research articles that we reviewed. The information was also laid out in a fairly logical way. Found it easy to read and understand, and therefore a way to make it useful. And I thought the information was somewhat intuitive in the way that you would think about things in an organic setting. It just made sense that that's how you would probably look at things, but it also put it in terms that I think different organizations would actually sit down and use the research. Whitney, what were your thoughts?
Ginger, I agree with that too. Since I focused on the research methods for the presentation, I was just going to point out that I think that their method of research was right for this type of study. They used qualitative research, which was the most appropriate because they were able to actually have firsthand discussions with CIOs. And I think discussion like this helped the researchers to get a genuine feel for where value is actually added in organizations through IT. Shiny, what did you think?
Well, Whitney, I believe that my overall perspective is that the research could serve as a basis for the development of innovative measurement systems for assessing the success of the IT function. Greg, could you share your thoughts on this?
Sure, Shiny. I found the article to be interesting, and I think it provides really a good way to categorize the IT functions. And in my view, it'll be research maybe that'll be relied upon by CIOs to look at what kind of management structure really they should adopt for their organization, and if they're successful in doing that, then what kind of value may come out of that. I do think that a lot of IT shops will be in the hybrid type category that Ginger defined earlier, because I think very few of them are going to be true profiles exactly as these 5 profiles came out. But I do think there's some value in that, and I think that maybe the second value is for CIOs, they can understand the value associated with each of the profiles. And if they want to move their IT function or their shop from one profile to another to gain the values associated with that, then they've kind of got a roadmap of how to do that. So I think that could be some value that CIOs derive from the study. With that, we're going to conclude. Thanks for listening, and that concludes our presentation.